everybody, it's Kenzie Knox and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be painting this lovely winter landscape painting, and it's of a steeple in the forest and it's snowy and beautiful out. But anyways, starting off with, we'll need some titanium white, phthalo blue, Prussian blue, phthalo green, sap green, and Mars black. So add that to your palette and let's get started. With a 1-inch oval malt brush, we're going to actually spritz off our canvas first. I always forget this step, sorry. Tap into your Prussian blue. And we're going to load up our brush really thoroughly, and we're just going to start painting in from the top going down, and we'll get a little bit lighter as we go down, but just start off with your Prussian blue. And if your paint is not moving smoothly, go ahead and wet your brush, but it should be wet enough that we sprayed it off with the spray bottle. So be careful with the water, you don't want drips, but go ahead and keep adding Prussian blue to the top. And then we'll dip into a little bit of titanium white with our Prussian blue, and then paint that over a little bit ways up the Prussian blue part, but also going downward. So we're trying to blend it out. We're doing the transition part right there. And then we're going to add some more titanium white, more Prussian blue, and get a little bit lighter as we go down. And we're only going down about to here, or maybe a little bit farther. We're going to have some mountains in the background, so we don't need that much sky. So once you're satisfied with your sky, go ahead and rinse off your brush, and you can put that aside, and we're going to switch over to our size 20 filbert brush. This is a hog bristle brush that I'm using. You don't have to use a hog bristle brush. You can use a regular filbert brush if you'd like. But I'm going to take some titanium white, some Prussian blue, and a little bit of black, and we're going to make that just mute down the color a little bit. And this is going to be our snow color. So we're going to go ahead, skip about an inch from the sky. I'm going to spritz down my canvas real quick, and then we're just going to add this layer to the snow just as a base layer to begin us off. You can use a larger paintbrush as well if you need to help with this process. I just like the streak marks that this leaves, but in the end I ended up not using streak marks, so you don't need to use a hog bristle brush in this painting. And once you're done with that, you can go ahead and rinse that brush off and switch over to our size 6 flat brush. And we're going to go ahead and add some mauve pale to our palette. And this is the color that we're going to use for mountains. So take some titanium white with some mauve pale. And we're going to start our mountains starting up around this point right there. And we're going to dip down because our moon is just going to be right above where that valley is. So you can draw your mountains in any way that you'd like, as long as you have some sort of valley right there towards the right side. And so once you've mapped out your mountains, you can go ahead and fill it in with that mauve pale and titanium white shade. And once you're satisfied with your mountains, you can go ahead and rinse off your brush. And we're going to tap into some titanium white, and we're just going to create our moon right where that valley is, right above it, up in the sky. And we'll go over this several times so that it's nice and bright. It might actually take off your blue in the background, but that's okay. Grab some light blue violet and some cobalt blue and add that to your palette, and grab your size 12 filbert brush. And if you don't have a filbert brush like this, a hog bristle brush, which will create streaks, you can use a flat brush or even a palette knife if you know how to use one. But this is quite handy when you're creating mountains because it creates those lines and pathways that you're always trying to create with a palette knife or with a flat brush. When you can hold it like a palette knife and create these type of streaks. But I'm just using my filbert brush, my hog bristle filbert brush, which I am a huge fan of, which I didn't realize how much of a benefit it would be. So I highly recommend purchasing a set of these if you don't have one already. I purchased the filbert set, but next I'll purchase the flat brush set and maybe even the round brush set going forward. But once you're done with that, you can go ahead and rinse off your brush and tap into your light blue violet. And we're going to create the shadowed areas now. So we're going to create the same pathway look, patchiness look on the side of the mountains that is far away from the moon. And then once you're satisfied with that, we're actually going to go and we're going to shadow in some more with some cobalt blue. So going over the area that we just went over, we're just going to add some more shadows, adding more depth. And a lot of this will be covered, but a part of it will be showing, so it's good practice as well. So just have fun with it and relax and take your time. So the mountains to the left will not be showing it as much as the mountains to the right, if they're showing at all. So next, grab some light blue violet and some titanium white and mix that together, and we're going to add some shadows to the highlighted areas as well. And once I'm done with that shadowing, I'm just going to take my brush, what's left in it, and just brush it across the bottom of the mountains, trying to create like a foggy look if that's if there's any paint left in your brush. But next we're going to tap into some titanium white, and we're also just going to lighten that bottom area where the sky is. This will be covered anyway, but just in case any of this shows through the trees, I just wanted to have a foggy layer. So next, take your titanium white and some phthalo green and a little bit of Mars black. We're just going to tone down that green just a bit, and we're going to get a light shade of this color, and we're going to start painting in some trees that'll be in the distant background or the indication of trees. So I'm just tapping this in. Another method you could use is just doing strokes going upwards. A lot of people use this as well. Then they resemble evergreen trees. You can use that method as well. We will be doing that eventually, but for now we're just going to tap in some trees in the background, mainly covering that blue section of paint and a little bit of the snow underneath it. So I'm just drawing a line across for a reference point, and then I'm going to go back over and tap over it. And you can create these different heights, except I didn't really want to cover any of the mountains, so I kept this relatively low. Then we're going to add some more phthalo green, sap green, and Mars black to that, and we're just going to add some of this color to the bottom of the trees just to create a shadowed effect. So just paint that in, just tap that and swirl that into the bottom of the trees, and then we'll end up pulling it up as well, creating that false look of trees or that indication of trees. So now we're just swooping it up, pulling it up. Adding a little bit more black, a little bit more green. We're just gonna create some deeper looking trees, doing those same streak marks for the indication of evergreen trees. A lot of this area on the left will be covered as well, so don't worry too much about that. Focus mainly on the right half of the canvas for the tree area. Grabbing some Mars black, some phthalo green, some sap green. We're going to create a dark green shade that's pretty saturated, and we're just going to do those upward strokes again in front of these lighter tree colors or lighter trees. We are trying to create the effect of a forest, in case you're wondering. So again, I'm focusing on the right side because the left side will be covered up by a different set of trees. So now going into my black mainly and some phthalo green, I'm doing even darker set of trees here, creating more of a contrast between the foreground-ish area and the midground. Go ahead and add some yellow ochre to your palette and grab your liner brush, and we're going to tap into some yellow ochre and some Mars black, and we're going to just mix those together to create a darker shade of yellow ochre, and it'll almost be like a brownish shade. And we're just going to draw in some trees, just some straight lines up in the background. Keep on adding these trees until you get to about the middle of the canvas. And if you've noticed, I keep adding more and more Mars black to the yellow ochre as I'm creating a graduated effect where my trees are getting lighter on the right side and gradually getting darker to the left side. So they're almost black on the left, but they're not. I guess you could use raw umber if you needed to. And there doesn't have to be much detail in these trees. However, now we're going to go farther over to the left, and we're going to create bigger trees, and these will have foliage on them, so we're just going to draw in a bunch of branches, or just paint in a bunch of branches on trees that go above the tree line. And now we're creating a nice big tree that goes a little bit below the snow line or the tree line and goes almost to the top of the canvas. And we're just going to draw in some branches over here and make this tree fairly big in size. I'm just going to extend this little guy over here just a little bit more. Once you're done with that, grab a little oval mop brush or a medium oval mop brush and grab some olive green, add that to your palette and tap into your olive green shade. And then we're just going to add some foliage to these trees, starting around the middle of the canvas and going over to the left. And just tap in this foliage. A lot of it will be covered, but some of it won't be. So the steeple will be covering the majority of the trees, but we want some of it to go above the steeple as well. So now tapping into our sap green and our phthalo green, as well as our Mars black. There we go. We're going to create a nice, rich, dark green color, and we're going to add this to the left tree, the large left tree. So go ahead and tap your brush into that and add the foliage to the big tree on the left. And fill that tree up with lots of foliage. And once you're happy with that, switch over to our size 0 flat brush. And we're going to mix some titanium white with some Mars black to create a nice light gray shade. Keep it very light in color. And we're going to start painting in our steeple. So starting about almost halfway across the canvas, a little to the left, we're just going to start off with our square / triangle shape, our standard house shape. So that's the roof right there. And we're going to bring it up almost to the tree, above the tree line, obviously, but almost to above where we painted in our trees. And then we'll draw on the other side of the house, or the steeple, and then the rooftop going straight across, and then the diagonal going down, and then another straight line going down. Then we're going to do our line across, coming slightly downwards, and the roof line will go almost straight, but slightly downwards. Drawing our line straight across the bottom of the house, we're just going to now fill in most of the house, or add some stairs. I'm sorry, we're going to add some stairs first. So there will be stairs. We're going to map out our house. So there will be a window right there, another window on the other side, a door right here, a big door. Make sure it's a 2-door opening, I guess you could say. Another window up top. And then now we're going to draw in or paint in or map out our little tower. So I'm just adding a little bit more titanium white and Mars black to make some more gray shade. And I'm going to draw this going straight up and creating just a square on top of the roof. And then we're going to make the top come down. And my top goes all the way to the top of the canvas. Don't go all the way to the top of the canvas. I end up fixing this, so if you do the same thing I did, you can adjust it afterwards. I realized after I painted it that I didn't want it to go all the way up, so don't worry about that. But go ahead and fill in that top portion of the tower. And now I'm going to map out the windows. You can go ahead and skip forward past the step. Don't do this. Don't waste your time. It didn't work out properly, like I was saying. It's a lot easier to paint in the windows and then do the trim afterwards. So just fast forward through this part. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and fill in our steeple with that gray shade. So go ahead and just paint in the entire side of the chapel or steeple. And then we can also paint in the front of the side of the steeple as well. Typically, I paint in the entire face, both faces or all faces of the structures that I paint, and then I go in afterwards and map out the windows and the doors. But you can do this either way. I just decided to do it this way this time just to see if I liked it better, but I definitely think I should just stick with my original plan and paint in the entire structure and then go back in. But either way, I filled in the windows and doors with white, and the top part of the green part of the steeple wasn't dry yet, so I decided to wait for that to dry before painting it in with gray. So I'm adding some more foliage now because my foliage didn't go high enough or wide enough, so I'm just adding some more foliage. And if your foliage is fine, you can leave it as is. I'm also going to tap in some foliage in front or on side of the steeple as well. And I'm using sap green, phthalo green, and a little bit of Mars black just to create a dark shade for the foliage. And so I'm going to bring that foliage down towards the steeple so that it's next to it, and also it will eventually go in front of it and beside it as well. I'm keeping the darker shade towards the bottom of the tree line as if it were shadowed. That's the effect I'm trying to go for. Go ahead, take your, actually take a paper towel and wipe off your mop brush, and then grab some titanium white, and we're just going to add some snow to the trees. Just tapping it in. And bring this snow all the way over to the right side of the canvas on top of the trees. Now dipping into some sap green and phthalo green and a little bit of Mars black, I'm going to go ahead and tap in some foliage to the left of the steeple. I was thinking about adding it in front, but I decided to wait, and also to the side, but I'm going to wait. So don't add that in yet. Go ahead and switch over to your size 2 fan brush, or a small fan brush. And this is a hog bristle fan brush. I'm a huge fan of these. And we're going to take some sap green and phthalo green, and we're going to go ahead and start an evergreen tree next to the moon, but not in front of it. Just don't go over your moon. We're actually going to, I think this tree might go a little higher, I believe. That we might take it up a bit. So make sure that there's room above where your tree is. And go ahead and just tap in your foliage going down. If you hold your brush handle below the level that you're painting, like where the bristles hit the canvas, then your bristles will go downwards. It'll look like my tree. But if your handle is above where the bristles are hitting, then your bristles will bend forward or bend upwards. So you can paint in whatever type of tree that you'd like. Just thought I'd let you know that. I'm just thickening up my tree a bit more to make it a bit wider. And filling in some spots too. I'm going to switch over to my size 2 flat brush, and I'm going to fix that with our sky color. I'm going to fix the tower top of it so that it doesn't go all the way to the tippity top of the canvas. And this is just a way that you can fix it. Just go back to the original color that we used and then paint that in. But if you didn't go up to the top, you don't have to fix this. I believe we used Prussian blue for the sky. Okay, switching back to our size 4 filbert brush, we're going to take some titanium white and some Mars black, create a gray shade, and we're going to go back and paint in our steeple. Hopefully it is now dry. If your painting is not dry, you can go ahead and use a blow dryer to dry it off, or you can just take a break and wait a minute, or move on to the next step and come back to this. And if you notice, the front face of my steeple is darker than the side of the steeple, and that's on purpose. So this side we're going in with a lighter shade of gray, but not white, not titanium white. We'll save that for the highlights on the rooftop, or anywhere else we need highlights. So now we're going to paint in the roof with some titanium white, some phthalo blue, some Prussian blue, and we're going to create a very light blue shade, and we're going to go over the top of the rooftop with this. And my painting was not dry, so this ended up causing the green to be dragged into the roof color, which I did not want, so I need to let this dry a bit. If yours is wet, oh, you can see the green coming through right there, then let this dry first before painting it in. I highly recommend you wait. Now my rooftop looks green, so I'm going to have to do extra colors or extra shading or coverage of this to fix this. But going back to my titanium white, I'm going to go paint in my door, paint in my windows again, add a window to the tower. Oh, actually I'm highlighting the front side of the tower, the side closest to the moon, and the top of the tower that's closest to the moon. And highlighting the other side of the rooftop. Make sure you get that side. That side has snow as well. And the other side, so both sides of the rooftop, the front of the roof, and then just adding some lighter titanium white shade onto the rooftop, trying to highlight it. I'm fighting this green shade. I really shouldn't have. I should have let it dry. It's really not helping that. I'm just adding wet paint on top of wet paint. It's going to take 3 times as long to dry. But anywho, add your luminous lemon yellow and luminous yellow to your palette. These are both a warm and cool luminous colors, or neon colors, or fluorescent colors, and we're going to add the fluorescent warm yellow with titanium white, and we're going to fill in our windows using our size 2 flat brush. Now I'm going to add my window to my tower, or my windows to my tower, and to the sides of the steeple. If you notice, my windows are lopsided, and I will go back and fix this. Going to my size 12 filbert brush, I'm going to go ahead and tap into my light blue violet and some titanium white, and I'm going to take that color and we're going to start adding some snow to our little evergreen tree, or big evergreen tree in our foreground area. And we're just going to add it to the right side of the tree, as the left side will be illuminated by the steeple, and I guess you could say the moon as well. And you can bring that a little bit past the halfway mark. And just tap that in. Taking our titanium white now, we're going to go ahead and highlight the left side of the tree with some snow. And that looks lovely right there. Perfect. Okay. So now we can move on to the next step. We're just going to tap in some snow on top of the foliage that we added to the side of the chapel. And now we're going to take that luminous color, yellow and titanium white, and add that to the door. So the door is going to have 2 doors that are in red that are going to be slightly open, so we'll get to that afterwards, but just paint that in. We're also going to paint in the top of the stairs with this luminous yellow and the titanium white color. And then we're going to take some titanium white and some Mars black, and we're going to create a darker shade of gray, and we're going to paint the side of the stairs as well as underneath the stairs to shadow it. So now we're going to take some titanium white and some light blue violet, and we're going to just go over the rooftop again, trying to get rid of that green shade, add some more blues to it. Hopefully your roof is dry by now. Taking some titanium white, adding some highlights to it. And just filling it in. And then tapping into our dark gray color, we're just going to add some shadows underneath the rooftop, underneath the front rooftop, and even taking some black. Take some Mars black, and we're just going to shadow that even further. And the side of the chapel or steeple, and the back side too. And the rooftop, why not? Okay, so now we're going to take some white, and we're just going to add some lines as if these were wood. So like it's like a wooden cabin sort of look, and it's just indications of it, so it doesn't need to be perfect. We're just creating some streak marks. There will be a wreath in front of the chapel, so that will be hidden, and then we'll have bushes on underneath the windows, so don't worry too much about that. And we'll add it to the side as well, so taking that titanium white, just adding some streak marks here and there, just some minor indications. And now I'm going to fix that window that's lopsided. There we go, much better, much better. And then I'm going to go over the windows again, filling them in with that luminous yellow and titanium white, adding a second coat of paint so that they really stand out nice and bright. You can already see the difference in color just by adding another layer of paint. Then taking a mini mop brush, I'm going to dip into some sap green and add a little bush over here. And then we're going to add another bush over here. And we're going to make that bush a lot bigger. So I just tapped into some phthalo green with that sap green just to tone it down a bit. Or not tone it down, but saturate it and make it darker in color. we're going to bring that up a little bit and bring it over to the right as well. And a little bit downwards too. Adding some more sap green to that color and some Mars black. We're just going to tap in some foliage next to the stairs in front of the steeple. And then bring that foliage around the side in front of the windows too. But not going too high. We want to keep those windows nice and big and bright. Once you're done adjusting your bushes, go ahead and grab some titanium white, and we're just going to color in our moon again. Just add another layer of white. Then we're going to take some white and highlight the top part of the steeple that's facing the moonlight and that tower part. As well as that little rooftop part. And bring down some highlight as well along the front and a little along the back side. And switching over to a liner brush or a round brush, you can use either or. We're going to go ahead and tap into some Mars black, and we're just going to line or add some trim to our windows and our door. So just going all the way around each of the windows, each of the doors, or the door. And take your time doing this. Use your pinky to stabilize your hand if needed. I sped this up so you didn't have to watch this painstakingly slow. This is a long process. Then don't forget the windows on top of the tower as well. And careful for wet paint when you're doing this as well. I'm going to add the crosshairs. Like I said, take your time, pause the video, slow it down if you need to. Then we're going to add the lines or the trim to the windows here. And the window up top. The window below. And the side windows. So one line down and 1, 2, 3 lines across. Oh, you can tell I just messed up there, so it's very easy to fix if you mess up. Just take your clean paintbrush and just wipe it off and then start over again. Or a wet paper towel works too. Once you're done that, we're going to go ahead and take some more black on our round brush and just line our tower where the corners and edges are. Taking some more titanium white and some black, we're going to create a darker color and redo what we just did to create those edges just because they weren't shadowed enough. Then we're going to take that dark gray and shadow in the left side of the tower, as well as the top part of it. Then we're going to go ahead and take our size 4 filbert brush, tap into some of that gray shade of white and Mars black, making a very light gray shade, and we're just going to go over the rooftop again, adding some shadows and some highlights, trying to get rid of that green shade that keeps popping through. Add some white to the top of the rooftop, add some more white going down a little bit. I think we finally covered it up. Yay! Okay, add some white to the bottom edges and the sides of the rooftop. Then we're going to add some Hooker's Green to our palette and switch to our size 2 flat brush. Oh, tap into some Scarlet Red. So now we're going to create the door. So the door is going to come in at a downward angle on both the from the top, and it's going to angle in at the bottom too, so it looks like it's opening. And then the second door will look like it's shut, so it's just flat. Make sure you leave a space between the two doors. So one door is closed and one door is open. Rinse off your brush, grab some Mars Black, titanium white, mix that together to form a dark gray shade. And we're just going to shade in, or we're going to paint in a railing. So just a couple lines going diagonal and then straight up and down. You don't have to add a railing if you're not comfortable with adding it, it's fine. Rinse off your brush, grab some titanium white, add some snow to your railing if you did add it. Wash off your brush, grab some of that hooker's green, and we're going to now paint in our wreath right below the top window. So just tap in a circular shape. Just tap, tap, tap. Then we're going to take some Mars Black with our little round brush, and we're going to paint in a doorknob or fancy doorknob, so like a little circle and then a little hook with a line down, or you can just do a simple doorknob. Taking a mop brush, we're going to tap into some titanium white and light blue violet, and we're going to tap in some snow on top of the foliage. So grab some more titanium white and light blue violet and add it to the bush on the right, as well as the bushes in front of the steeple and to the side of it too. Then we're going to add some raw sienna to our palette. Using our round brush, we're going to dip into some raw sienna and start creating the tree trunks and twigs, the branches off the trees that have disappeared. So we're just adding indications, so you don't actually have to draw in the full tree trunk with all the branches, just draw in indications of them. Even in the background over here, you can just do some lines over here. You don't have to get too fancy. I'm just drawing in some very thin lines, so less pressure, the thinner the line. The harder the push with the brush, the thicker the line, if that makes sense. This next part you can skip altogether because we're going to paint in the snow, and in the end it's easier to paint the snow in and then add this fence that I'm adding in, so just skip this step. Do not paint this in unless you want to position your fence to see where if you'd like it there, but we will be painting over it and then repainting it back in. So just fast forward. I kept this in just in case you were wondering why this was there. But go ahead and add some ultramarine blue to your palette. We're going to use our size 8 filbert brush now, and we're going to tap into some titanium white, some Mars Black, and some ultramarine blue, and we're just going to shadow in some areas. So now we'll be painting in the snow, which is, just please follow the process. I don't, this is a lot of different shades, so just watch what colors I'm using on my palette. Mainly white, Mars Black, and a shade of blue. I'm just tapping in the very dark areas now. This will be the darkest areas. Think of where the moonlight will hit and where the light from the steeple will hit and where the light won't be. So like behind the trees, next to the tree line and in front of the steeple, but between the steeple and the bushes. But then after that, it'll be lit up by the windows. And this area right here is quite open, but still shadowed because of the tree. So just keep, and we will have a lamppost in the front left area. So the rest of, oh, and a pathway too. Don't forget about your pathway from the door that's coming towards us. So it'll be smaller the farther away from us it is, and getting wider and wider as it comes towards us. So I'm just mapping out the pathway. I'm just pulling out some sides so that we can make some areas level. And this is where I had trouble with the snow and the fence, so I decided to just go over the fence and then paint it in again afterwards. So just paint over the fence. So don't forget that you need midtones and highlights as well. So we painted in the darkest areas, and now we'll be going for the mid-tone areas. Oh, actually this will be a dark area too, so it'll look like the snow is piled up into the pathways, like dug out. That was the look I was going for anyway. I hope I achieved it. By taking a mid-tone layer now, mid-tone shade, adding that in. And now I'm adding some light blue violet with some titanium white and a little bit of black to tone it down. And we're just adding that in. And we're going to leave that area around the steeple the brightest because it'll be lit up by the windows. And then also the area near the lamppost, which is right there where I'm painting right now, that will be lit up as well. Just keep that in mind. But it'll only be lit up around the lamppost. So that's just something that to stick in the back of your head. I changed the shades up several times while I was painting this. I couldn't really decide if I wanted it more blue or gray, but I decided to go with a blue-gray shade just to add more color rather than keeping it a grayscale kind of painting. But I played around with the shadows and the tones a lot until I was quite happy with it, and it took me a while, and I apologize if the process is not that clear because I don't really know how I came to the end. This is just, I was just painting, trying out where I liked the shades, where I liked the colors, and keeping in mind where the shadows and the highlights would be. So obviously right there, I'm painting in the path, that's going to be highlighted from the door that's open, and then it'll get shadowed on the left side because the lamp post will be brightening up the right side. So keep that in mind too. I wanted it sweeping down, so I'm doing swooping motions. So the way that your paintbrush goes actually adds a lot of character to your painting as well. So now I'm highlighting the right side of the pathway because that'll be lit up by both the front door and the lamppost itself. And then I'm just dragging out some snow areas that'll be level with the mound of snow from the pathway. I'm going back to a darker shade now to build up the pathway on the left side to shadow it. And then I'm switching to a size 4 filbert brush, and this will make it a little bit easier to highlight certain areas. Painting in the moon again with titanium white, and then I'm just going to put in some titanium white where I really want the highlights on the snow to be, so that both those areas will be lit up by the moon and by the steeple. So those will be the brightest areas, and then that'll be lit up from the steeple window, and those will be all lit up by the steeple windows. Just adding a little bit more of a highlight, and then random highlights where there will be bumps of snow. And then darkening around the trees some more, as this will be the darkest area that's on the painting. I just couldn't decide how far I wanted my shadow to go because between the chapel and the moon, I was having difficulty determining where the shadow would be. So I decided at this point I wanted to use ultramarine blue to create my shadow rather than using black, and I just wanted to add more color to my painting. I just didn't want it to be a black and white shadow, So I was actually happy the way that this came out. So I took the blue, the ultramarine blue, and I blended it out, and then I blended in a lighter shade to transition the paint a little bit better. And it actually came out, I was happy with the results in the end. But if you're more comfortable using black for a deeper shadow, you can do that too. I just prefer color. So now I'm trying to transition the color, so I'm adding a lighter color, and then I'll blend the two. And that's where I decided to keep my shadows. Then I'm going back to the pathway, creating little swoops so that it looks like the snow is going upwards to the pathway. And I mean, I could have deleted a lot of this video, but I just wanted you to know that there is a process to this. I'm not perfect at it, but I'm learning, and I think I was pretty satisfied with my results. It did take me quite a while to do this, to finish this painting, but in the end, I was quite pleased with it. And I hope that you can use this and it's somewhat useful for you in painting. Maybe you'll figure out an easier way to paint snow than I do. I don't know. I still haven't really mastered it yet. Okay, now that I'm done with the snow for now, I'm going to go ahead and take some black and map out my doors, or paint in my trim for my doors. And then I'm going to grab my scarlet red and create a little bow for my wreath. And then I'm going to rinse off my brush, grab some light blue violet and titanium white, and just add a little bit of snow to my wreath, to just all around it. And also to the top of the windowsill, and all the windows, I guess you could do too. Just add a little snow to the tops of them. Then I'm going to switch over to our little filbert brush, and we're going to have our flat brush, and we're going to start painting in that fence that we previously painted in and then painted over. I decided to repaint in when we were ready. And I'm just using raw sienna to paint this in real quick. Taking my size 2 flat brush, I'm going to take some lamp black, and I'm going to start painting in our lamp post. It's going to start right about here and go all the way down. So just draw a straight line and then thicken it up a little bit. You can do this by applying more pressure to your brush. The more pressure you apply, the larger the line will be. And then we're going to add our little lamp on top of the post that we just created, which is like a upside down triangle. And then a flat top, and then a triangle on top of there, and then paint in the top triangle. You can add a little details to the lamppost if you'd like to, or you can just keep it plain as is. I'm just adding in some little details that I think might spruce it up a little bit. You don't have to do this if you don't feel like it. I'm just doing some lines and some circles. And then I'm taking some titanium white after I rinsed off my brush. I'm just filling it on the inside of the lamp, and if you made any errors at this point, you can fix it up. And then I'm going to add the shine to the top of the lamp from the moonlight. We're just going to add some highlights here. And then we're going to highlight all the way down the entire post with some titanium white. Then we're going to go on the inside of the lamppost again with some titanium white and just fill that in to get that nice and white, so we can really brighten it up with that luminous yellow and luminous lemon colors that we love to use. And now we're going to pick up some raw sienna and go over our little bends over here. Adding another layer of paint, that never hurts. And now we're going to take some raw umber and we're going to create some shadows on the fence post on the far right side because there's going to be light from the lamp that's going to shine onto it. So go under and on the right side of the post. And then we're just going to add some random lines just to give it some texture. Then taking some light blue violet and a little bit of titanium white, we're going to add a little bit of snow layer to the fence post, to the tops of the fence post. Then we're going to take straight titanium white and add more snow to the top of the fence post. And now we're going to create a shadow for the fence post. So taking some light blue violet and some Mars black, we're going to create a shadowed color for the fence post, and we're just going to add in the shadows from both the moonlight and the lamp. And once you're done with the shadows, we're going to grab some raw umber and add this to the right side of the fence post just to add more of a shadow look to them. Then we're going to pick up some luminous yellow and luminous lemon and create titanium white and highlight the lamp post with that bright luminous color. And then we're going to take our filbert brush, our size 8 filbert brush, and highlight the bushes next to the lamp post with that luminous yellow and luminous lemon color. Mixing up some more of that color, we're going to highlight the bushes in front of the steeple on the side and in the front. And then we're going to highlight the snow too. So this is the area reflecting the light on the snow from the windows. And in front of the pathway as well because of the doorway that's open. And the side of this tree as well. Once you're happy with that, mix up a little bit more of this color. We're going to highlight the rooftop where the windows are on the tower. And add a little bit more to our lamppost. Make sure you do multiple layers of this on your lamppost or else it won't be as vibrant in color. You can take as much of this luminous color as you'd like to make your lamppost really bright and brilliant because this is in the foreground and we want it to really be bright in color. And then taking some hunter green, I'm going to create a little wreath around the little lamppost. I'm just tapping my brush, my filbert brush, my small filbert brush. I believe this is size 4. I'm just going around in a circle, just tap, 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 tap. If you don't have hunter green, you can always use sap green. Sap green is a fine alternative. And then grabbing my size 2 round brush, I'm going to dip into my Mars black, and I'm just going to go around my wreath to shadow in the wreath and make it look more 3D in effect. And then I'm going to take some gray and white and titanium white and black, and I'm just going to shadow in the wreath, so underneath where the ribbon is, and then I'm going to shadow that area. And then you can take some black and water it down a little bit and shadow in that area as well, and then shadow underneath the wreath as well, so go around the wreath. And then I'm going to tap into my hunter green and going around the wreath and just adding in some more green to that, because hunter green is kind of transparent, unfortunately, so you need to add multiple layers for it to really look not transparent. And I'm just tapping this in. I'm not painting it in, I'm tapping it to give it more texture. So I'm just swirling and tapping my brush around. Then I'm going to add some light green permanent to my palette. This is just a lighter green shade, and I'm going to highlight some of the areas that the lamppost would highlight on the wreath. And again, just some taps and some swirls. I'm not painting it in, I'm just tapping and swirling it in to give it some texture. And I'm only doing this on the top half of the wreath. Then I'm going to tap into my titanium white, highlight the tower portion to the left. And then I'm going to go ahead and take some of my luminous yellow, luminous lemon, and titanium white, mix that up again. I'm going to highlight the ground again, the areas in front of the windows. And the bushes as well. And the stairs. And the other bushes. And the rooftop. And then the little wreath area where there might be a little bit of snow on top of it. Even on this wreath too, there might be a little snow. Just tapping and swirling. And then the pathway too. So the pathway will be lit up or illuminated on this area because of the lamppost. And in front of the stairwell. And then around the lamppost as well, don't forget about that area. Just take your brush and scumble around the snow. And once we're done highlighting all the snow that we feel that needs highlighting, we're going to take our shadow color again with the ultramarine blue, titanium white, and black, and just go around the outside of the pathway and shadow that in, and on this side of the pathway as well. I'm going to shadow that in to make it look like there's 2 mounds of snow built up around the pathway. And once we're done shadowing and everything, we're going to add a little bit more highlight with some titanium white to some of the snow mounds and the top of the little snowbank areas. And then once we're done with that, we're going to take some scarlet red and start working on our bow, on our wreath. So just start with a little circle, and then we're going to do like 2 little triangle-ish shapes, or 2 round triangle-ish shapes. And then once we get the 2 bows on the top, we'll do the 2 ribbons dangling down on the bottom. I actually make these like an oval-y shape, more like an oval, not a triangle. And there are 2 little ribbons hanging down. And we'll go in after this with some black, and we're going to shadow in a little section up here to make it look like that's where the ribbon folds in on itself. And then we'll go around the little knot in the middle. And around the bottom of the little bows. And then on the ribbons, we'll go around the ribbons. And then now we're doing the knot. we're going to add some luminous red to our palette. And this is really going to make our ribbon look really bright and red and brilliant in color. Here I'm just adding some more green to my wreath. Just shadowing it up a bit. Then I'm going to dip into my fluorescent red, and I'm going to go ahead and add that to my my bow, and it's just going to really make it bright and brilliant and red in color, make it look a little more velvety. It'll really make it show up a lot better. You can already see how much more it shows up. So just add that to your bow to highlight it. And then also add it to the bow in the background that's hanging off of the temple. Then we're going to add some crimson to our palette. Dip into some crimson, and we're going to add some berries to our wreath. Just add a little something extra to the wreath. And you can add these randomly, and you don't have to add them at all. I just thought it would add a nice little touch to the decorations. Then we're going to add some scarlet red to the berries just to brighten those up. But we're going to keep the fluorescent red on the bow only. Then we're going to go ahead and tap into our fluorescent yellow or neon yellow or luminous yellow warm. And we're just going to highlight some of the areas below the lamp itself and on top of the lamp from the moonlight. You can add titanium white, and we're just going to go down the pole to add the highlight from the moonlight. And once we're done with that, that pretty much wraps up our painting. And so I hope you enjoyed this YouTube tutorial. I know I did. Please remember to like this video and to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Okay, bye!